not met since the last OTA working group meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 24th, and that meeting will absolutely occur. We have at least one contribution so far, so that meeting will occur on the 24th of next month.
All right, short and sweet. Thank you for that. Up next, agenda item 6.9, MRR task force. Will Masood or Will?
Thank you, Thorsten. So we had a meeting last week, last Tuesday. So the task force discussed about the MR template version control, which I just presented a moment ago, and we endorsed that contribution. So I think I went through all the details, so no need to repeat again. Those are only the agenda we had from the last meeting. In the next meeting, it will be on September 8th, where we will discuss further enhancement on the MRR. That's all the update from MRR task force.
All right, thanks for that. So we can skip over 6.10, the TRP TIS Lemons Task Force, which is still in hibernation, and instead move to agenda item 6.11, the OTA PTCRB GNSS Task Force. And Jose.
Thanks, Thorsten. Our last meeting was held on July 17th. We had a few contributions listed. We couldn't review some of them because the main contributor was not available, but still we reviewed and discussed the topic of the AGNSS methodology with ENDC, with the preliminary feedback from operators trending to recommend to move it to informative for version 10. So we'll probably focus on that work moving forward, and we expect the final recommendation next meeting, which is scheduled for August 21st. There is another contribution about antenna switching requirements, but yeah, we couldn't really go to the details on that one. So we expect some discussion next time.
Thanks for that, Jose. Let me check the time. It's 9 o'clock. Sean did indicate that he was going to be here for the second half. Let me see. Do we have Sean on the line? Not yet. Okay, we'll come back to Sean to provide the PTCRB updates in agenda item 6.12 and agenda item 7. So we'll again come back to that. In terms of late contributions, we have two, both from Jose. So let's start off with agenda item 8.1, contribution OTA 2025-0706 version 1. And Jose.
Sure. Thank you, Thorsten. So basically, to summarize, there has been some discussions internally when getting to some detailed development of those test cases for NR1 and rechecking LTE, some discussions, and we realized the very concrete wording that we have in the test plan for TIS measurement procedures might be subject to some level of misinterpretation, basically because we are making very concrete references to that 95% threshold for the maximum throughput, but also very concrete references to the reference sensitivity test cases in 3GPP for LTE and NR. And actually, those test cases in 3GPP and related to the annexes for the statistical significance have a very concrete list of number of packets and number of pass or fails, depending to determine basically the sensitivity threshold, the pass fail, and to at some point those tables with the number of samples lead to something different from a 95% throughput. Actually, the final statistical value, it's around 94%. So this misalignment was not present, was not there for 2G or 3G, just because we got a caveat on all those sections about 95% throughput or the corresponding block error rate, bit error rate with a 95% confidence level, and that's what is really affecting that final level. But we missed to do that for LTE, and then we carried over to NRFR1. So basically, we think there is some clarification needed, not that there is any change or technical change actually required, because we are connecting everything to those statistical significance annexes in the 3GPP conformance, RF conformance specifications. But I wanted to highlight a little bit the issue, and also if you see below, there is a draft proposal for the text to be changed. If you scroll down a little bit more, Will, using the LTE section for TIS, for the procedure for the TIS, on how to tweak or modify a little bit that wording about the final RF power level resulting on the or determining the receiver sensitivity. So we eliminate really any subtle differences or someone that might interpret it in a slightly different way, just by making sure we are using the exact procedure in 3GPP conformance, and also those specific pass-fail decision rules in the 3GPP annexes. So again, it's not a CR for approval. It's something more like a draft CR, because I wanted to present first a little bit the topic, having that example with LTE agreed upon, and then whatever comes out of the discussion and whether there is some feedback, then prepare the CR for next time.
All right, thanks for that, Jose. I again, when I saw this contribution, I was like, oh, weird. We did not have that statement in there. So I was surprised that we did not have that. With regards to your draft CR in quotes, I agree that we should make a reference to what we defined in 521-1. I was just wondering whether we could, instead of having to go to this specific reference, it might be nice to have a little bit of an introduction and talk about these 95% target throughput, with the condition that we have that 95% confidence level. So I was hoping that we maybe can combine both aspects, but pass readers on to the 3GPP spec if they want to know more. I'm a little worried that passing readers completely onto some of the NR and LTE specs, that we're missing maybe a little bit too much. But again, that's just my initial view after having seen your contribution.
Maybe one way to address that would be add a parenthetical phrase where you do e.g. 95% throughput with 95% confidence.
Something like that, yeah.
And it would still refer back to the exact text, and that e.g. would be example highlighting the most important aspects.
Yeah, Jose and I discussed this offline a little bit also. I mean, I think certainly if you look at the 3GPP reference and the test requirement, the test requirement even says the throughput shall be greater than or equal to 95%. So I was originally thinking that it'd be better to kind of have similar language to what we had with, say, UMTS, and where it says, not 95%, greater than 95% with 95% confidence, and with the reference to the annex, that would be very similar to the way 3GPP ran 5 conformance spec reads. And yeah, granted, there are some nuances that the pass-fail rate can actually go below 95% based on Annex G.2, but I think using that language would be still fairly much aligned with 3GPP, which is really the intended goal of our procedures anyway, to make sure that the results for the OTA test are comparable to the conformance test. I think, removing all the references altogether, I think would, to the 95% limit would, I don't know that we should go that far. But maybe the parenthetical statement, but could also be an approach. But I also thought that just adding the statement with 95% confidence, since that is also covered in Annex G.2, would also at least, that would align with exactly the text that's written in 3GPP right now, that it does say the throughput shall be greater than or equal to 95%, even though that, again, in conformance testing, it actually isn't above 95% in the end when you test it.
So maybe some feedback, starting with Ron. So we will still have that 95%. If you scroll up a little bit, I think at the beginning of this section, we are still referring to that minimum downlink to provide the 95% of the throughput. That's what I understand relates to the requirement, or the core requirement in 3GPP, making the clear statement equal or higher than 95% throughput. But going then through the text and getting closer to the actual test procedure and step by step, that's where having that last statement, and if you scroll back down again to the current text that we have right now, the actual minimum power level passing the 95% throughput, that's the one. I got also feedback internally that might be a subject of discussion. Regarding the adding this 95% confidence level, might be the actual definition and study in those annexes for LTE and NRF1 in the conformance specs, so 36.521 and 38.521, they have the 95% confidence level, but they also have a couple more factors about something, if I remember well, about DUT and something else. So there is just slightly more to it than just the 95% confidence. That's why I was trying to reward a little bit more and probably being a little bit bolder to redefine the text. But I mean, I'm fine. I just wanted to open the discussion, and we can agree on the actual text that you guys think it's better. But I would personally prefer to reduce as much as possible all those very clear statement about greater than or equal to 95% at the end of this section, because that's where it really determines how many samples do I use, how do I determine the pass fail for that throughput. And I think we agreed we have to use those tables in the annexes in 521. So we just need to find the right wording to reflect that properly and making sure we are not saying anything different, that guys just use those tables in the conformance spec.
All right, Jose, again, a great contribution. I would like to cut off the discussion here a little bit. I saw Sean has joined in the meantime. So if we can maybe trigger a small offline discussion between interested parties on some of this language, I think that'd be great. So Sean, before we come back to you on the PTCRB updates, I would like to just very briefly finish up the last remaining contribution under the late contribution agenda and agenda item 8. So Jose, if you could very briefly go over the contribution in agenda item 8.2 OTA 2025 or 707 mid-channel config for N26.
Yeah, should be fairly quick. So again, this is really having people get into the real deep details on every case. And here we identified for GNSS, and it was discussed as a new business during our last call. I forgot to mention that during the update. We found a difference between the mid-channel, in this case is the RB allocation for the mid-channel between the TIS tables and the intermediate channel tables, receive intermediate channel tables, that makes the text in the ICD for AGNSS, again, conflicting in some cases whether to follow one or the other. So all in all, I don't want to extend too much. It's basically, I would like to raise a question to operators regarding N26 to confirm whether that different configuration for the uplink RB allocation on the intermediate channel, it's an intentional change or difference or not. And based on that feedback, we can determine whether there is an action required for AGNSS to clarify a little bit more the ICD procedure to refer to the TIS or the mid-channel from the TIS or the mid-channel from the intermediate channel testing tables as the reference for the ICD. But yeah, all in all, basically that's the proposal later in the document. It's basically having that question directly to concerned operators for N26, and with that we can determine the way forward.
I have a question for you, Jose. So something similar, we have a similar situation with LTE band 26. Did we use the same settings for the intermediate channel test as the test settings for that protocol?
You got me, Kevin. I was not.
I would think that we generally have followed the test settings.
I thought I checked. I thought I checked, and the mid-channel config was the same for LTE.
Oh, right. But so the ICD for matches TIS, then we should do the same for NR as well. That's, I guess, what I was thinking.
Oh, right. So, yeah, so I was checking for a single carrier. I was checking also LTE, and that we don't have that difference between intermediate channel and the TIS. So that's why I thought this might be a typo, or this might be probably an error, just an error, and we can solve that, and we don't need to discuss more than that. If your question is about do we have the same case for LTE26, I think right now I checked, and it was the only case was NRFR1 N26. No other band for LTE or NR has any different configuration for ICD or intermediate channel and TIS.
Yeah, I guess LTE is another one of those. It's a 5 megahertz band for LTE. Another slight difference. Yeah, I think they should be aligned. That's what we've done. That's what I think we've done elsewhere. So
So Jose, do you want this to be brought to the operators?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
well, I mean,
Unless
this
there is
could
any
make a recommendation.
Sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
I think this group could make a recommendation based on how we understand the how we've written the test plan historically. And yeah, I mean, if you go back and you look at let's see. We don't actually have N5 because it's not wide enough. Yeah, my recollection is that the reason why the uplink allocation is narrower than the full allocation is to avoid noise being generated by the TX falling into the RX. So it seems to me that we would use that same as well.
Yeah, I would agree with Kevin on that. Also, I mean, that's how band 5. I mean, I'm assuming N5 is set up the same way they use 25 at 27 for the ICD. So
Yeah, I mean,
if band 5 does that, there's almost no reason why band 20, why N26 shouldn't.
Yeah, for some reason N5 doesn't have ICD channels. I don't know, is it too narrow, and N26 is just
Yeah,
right enough
you're right.
to
Yeah,
fit
you're right,
it.
Kevin. Yeah, that's right. Because because it's too narrow. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't thinking about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's only 25 megahertz. So there's already 3 10 megahertz channels that end up overlapping.
But certainly looking at the LTE bands, that's I think that's always been the case that we've lined up those settings.
So I heard 2 pieces of feedback. Jose wanted to have this to the operators pretty much, I think, ASAP, because he is worried about version 8. Kevin, you reported that, or you commented that we should have some recommendation from OTA. Since this is a late contribution and I need to limit the discussion on this contribution at this point, can this wait until the next meeting for us to kind of formalize a recommendation, or should this go to the next operator call that is currently scheduled? Since this is a clarification for version 8, my recommendation might be to hand this to the operators and see whether they can have any concrete feedback on what the recommendation should be, and then see whether this is aligned with a potential OTA working group recommendation, as Kevin mentioned.
Okay, so good to know about that. Since we have Adil and Andy's on the call, do you guys want to quickly ask any question you guys might have before we make this available in the operator so we can have further discussions? Do we have all the information we need to make the decision point? Andy
Yes.
and Adil.
Yes, Sean. So from T-Mobile side, we do not have any deployment of N26. So I think I will leave it up to the other operators to decide.
Thank you so much. Andy?
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the same thing on my end as well. I mean, I think for consistency, the ICD test should match the TIS, but we don't have any spectrum deployment. In fact, I actually think that should be, maybe that's also a question for the operators. Is there anyone with an N26 deployment right now? Because the SMR licenses have changed hands multiple times in the last couple of years. So it's not clear who, I'm not sure we're even going to find an operator with a deployment.
Got it. All right, sounds good.
So we have RFN from AT&T online as well.
Sorry, Arifin. I did not see that, but please feel free to weigh in as well.
No, we don't have any deployment or any planned deployment for N26.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think if from the major operator's perspective, then we probably will not get a feedback. So basically, I don't know who, which other North American operator was supporting this, but I will leave this.
Should
Kevin,
check
you
with
raised your
the
hand. Please weigh in.
Should check with
Yeah,
the
so-
Canadians for sure.
Okay, so just as a reference, the band N71 does have ICD channels, and they do have a reduced uplink allocation, and the ICD channel matches the GIS uplink allocation. So I think there are some evidence that we do that as a process, and we should. I think it was just a mistake. That's my opinion, and we should change the GIS to match the the ICD to match the GIS uplink allocations.
All right, let me then ask this way, Jose, given that there's high likelihood that OTA operators are not going to provide the necessary feedback, do you have everything you need based on this brief discussion here to make a recommendation for version 8 in the next meeting?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, sure. It's more than enough. The response so far, so I think it's fine, and I can prepare the CR. Sure.
Awesome.
Problem.
So
Very
that
good.
means we don't need to, the operator does not need to treat this based on the feedback. Is that correct?
I would assume that is correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Very good. So we did extend the discussions a little bit on the late contributions, and with that, I would like to come back to agenda items 6, 12, and 7 regarding the PTCRB updates and the synchronization between PTCRB and OTA working group. And now that Sean is here, Sean?
Yes, I'm here. I do apologize for joining this late because I'm supporting the PVG meetings this week. So there are 2 items we would like to share with the team. The one actually just a fresh off the press from the PVG is related to the GRAN conformance testing. So as you guys know, PTCRB operator make the decision point that in June that GRAN conformance testing will not be in the requirements. So that which trigger a couple of steps for the PTCRB community to prepare for this switching the GRAN testing from normative to informative. So based on the discussion in the PVG, here is the implementations for now is GRAN will most likely will become informative after September PTCRB Super Week. So that's the timeline operators set for the entire PTCRB working group working towards. I believe probably this is also will impact the OTA a little bit, but we just want to let you know that GRAN will likely become informative for the conformance testing in the end of September. So that's one decision point. And then the other decision point is related to the nomenclature of the integrated device and the IoT device. As probably team already know, PTCRB have been working together in the first half of this year, trying to replacing usage of the nomenclature of the integrated device with the IoT device. In other words, PTCRB is planning to phase out the nomenclature of the integrated device and solely utilize the concept of IoT device for the certification purpose. And that already also got communicate with OTA WIoT working group. You guys will actually see an upcoming contribution from CTI certification at the WIoT working group propose this change and provide updates. So we just want to let the team know, most likely you will see that contribution soon, but we would like to let you know the conversation will start at the WIoT OTA working group. And we believe the OTA test plan also need to make certain changes in order to be in sync with the PTCRB working group's requirement. For that, back to you, Torsten.
All right, thanks for that. Are there any other questions, comments to Sean? Hearing none. So again, Sean, thanks for those updates. And with that, we go to agenda item 9, the test plan releases. We are starting off with the first Will Colbert on the editorial aspects.
Thanks, Thorsten. Yeah, so for the first one, version 6.0.x release 6, that has been published. It was published in June 24th to be exact. So that work is complete. The next one, version 8.0.x release 2, that went out for a 5-day email approval last week. That email approval closes COB today, so that's 5 p.m. Eastern time. That email approval did include the 2 contributions that were approved at the beginning of this meeting, items 5.2 and 5.3 that were implemented at risk. So those are included in the release for 8.0.x, the release 2. Additionally, we did receive some comments from Ron offline, some very minor editorial fixes that needed to be made. So those were incorporated as well. Version 9, that is the editorial team's next priority. That work is in progress and they're working on that right now. So our next meeting is Thursday, and that's the update. Any questions?
All right, hearing none, thanks for that comprehensive update. And now to the very interesting update from Will and Ron on version 8. Who's going to present?
I think Will is not on the call. Yeah.
And we have Ron.
I can present. Yeah, so
let's start.
For CTI, so for CTIA version 8, the LAD and SVDs, as we noted earlier, there was the submission of the CISO-MU spreadsheet, as well as in the process of finalizing the various spreadsheets and documents for the SVDs and LADs. There'll be 2 SVDs, one that covers CISO for the AGNSS aspects, and one that covers the millimeter wave updates. That will also include, both of those will also include some of the deferred items from version that we deferred in version 6. And then there will also be 2 LADs, one that will combine both CISO and MIMO, since there's very little to cover in MIMO that's not worth having a separate LAD. And then there'll be a LAD for millimeter wave. With the need to get these documents done and cleaned up by the technical editor, the expectation is that these documents will be ready and sent to the labs and system vendors by the end of this month, if not sooner. Right now, given the status of the CWG version 8 and some of the alignment issues right now, there won't be a release of the CWG LAD for version 8. We'll have to determine what to do with that once that's confirmed. Then, of course, for the system validation status, it's pending the release of the SVDs, as we discussed a while back. That will also include the GNSS 2020 scenarios that were deferred until the version 8 SVDs. And then based on the end of August or earlier release of these documents, the plan for the mandatory date for version 8 right now is targeted for December 1st. That's all I've got. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Ron. So again, a lot of information here, a lot of new information. So we will make sure that we capture that appropriately in the summary. So again, thanks, Ron, for working diligently on the SVDs, LADs, and for providing the rollout, the mandatory date that is planned for December 1st. That will be interesting or that will be brought up again in the new business item that we have added to this agenda. So are there any questions, comments regarding Ron's updates? Hearing none, so let's go ahead and continue with agenda item 10. That's the interfaces with other organizations and working groups. We did discuss in the last OTA working group meeting that it might be wise to send an LS to other STOs regarding our progress on NB-IoT OTA testing. And Andy was kind enough to put together that LS that was uploaded, I believe, a week ago. So, Andy, if you want to go over that LS for us, please. And Will, if you can pull it up.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
we
there's
can
a
pull
slight
that up.
delay.
Yep,
on
there
my
we go.
side.
No worries, thanks.
Yeah, so it's a fairly short. I mean, it's only a little over a page, but it was to announce to the various organizations, 3GPP, and then also GCF and GSMA, on the fact that we included NTN narrowband OTA in version 9. Here, kind of in the middle, I highlighted where we've deviated from standard 3GPP test procedures. And then basically, in the next couple paragraphs, I just point out that we're eventually, we're going to be doing this, validation exercise that Kevin's contribution was tackling, and assuming all that goes smoothly, the idea is that we'll move NTN narrowband OTA testing from informative in version 9 to normative in version 10. We also asked RAN 4 and RAN 5 to consider some of these deviations in future updates that they make. And that's pretty much it. And then we just noted, the next two meetings, our September meeting and the face-to-face in October. That's pretty much it, Thorsten.
All right. Thanks for that, Andy. Is there any initial feedback on this?
Do we want to change all the naming to narrowband IoT NTN in this LS, since that's what we're going to be publishing? You're using it already. Sorry. My apologies. Oh, wait, is it NTN narrowband IoT or narrowband IoT NTN that we settled on? I think I had a note saying the opposite, but What was the decision from PTC?
PTCRB is NB-IoT NTN.
Okay, yes. So then, and I think there was a decision to align all reference in the OTA test plan to that as well.
That's correct.
And just to clarify, did you have a dash between NB and IoT, or is it just NB IoT as 5 letters?
Based on my records is NB-IoT NTN.
All right. So that can be done, obviously. I guess what I would suggest, instead of us going back and revising this, we'll take that feedback into account and we'll make that in the final. I would like to send this contribution out for 3-day approval before we send this LS off to 3GPP later on this week, hopefully. So it'll arrive well before the next RAN 4, RAN 5 meetings will be held in 2 weeks in India. So Will, if I could ask you to submit this contribution for 3-day email approval, and Kevin will take your feedback into account and change the order of NTN NB-IoT and change it to NB-IoT NTN OTA testing. That'll be made in the final. All right. With that, we move on to the next agenda item. That's the new business. There we go. So the new business in agenda item 11.1. We were trying to look for a suitable title. We ended up with limitation reduction of active or pending test plan releases. And I just very briefly wanted to summarize some of the discussions that were held in the last editorial call that I was not able to attend. But in that call, there was a discussion to put some kind of process in place and to release a future test plan only when the mandatory date for the previous release is set / known or communicated publicly. So that was something that was effectively spearheaded, I think, from Jose. At least he was the one that communicated that to the OTA working group leadership. And again, the ask was to have sort of a process in place and make sure that we have a much better understanding on test plans or future test plans, and kind of limit some of those releases accordingly. And again, I'll open up the discussion here momentarily, but based on that understanding, the OTA leadership in our sync up last week did discuss this, and we do believe that there is a value to put something like a similar process to what Jose at least communicated up last week. And we do agree that we are okay to put a process together. And that process would be included in the next release of the release planning document for 2026. We did not want to go over this today until we have a better understanding what this process would look like. So maybe Jose, did I capture your ask? Did I capture the discussion that was held in editorial appropriately?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just a little bit of background. It's not only to put that process in place, but also to kind of reduce what I've been experiencing and getting a lot of feedback over the past few years, having up to 3 versions of the test plan published and not having a real confirmed timeline about what's happening when. I thought it was useful to hold a little bit. I'm not saying in every case or very formally in terms of months and whatnot, but having some sort of trigger that we hold off new test plans with new features to be published until we have a clear schedule for the next version of the test plan to be enforced for certification. That I think, at least on my side, helps a lot. Planification of developments, system validation efforts, and whatnot. So what I wanted to kind of raise or propose is at least have that a decision-making date when we have a clear decided date for enforcement. In this case, we can take the example for version 8. When that proposed date that Ron mentioned, 1st of December, that's a real thing, that's confirmed, it's been communicated to labs. We can decide then, okay, let's publish version 9 in 2 weeks. Let's publish version 9 in, okay, next best date we can from editorial. But don't try to rush it and publish as soon as we can. Otherwise, we are just repeating the same little mess that we have with version 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on.
So again, Jose, thanks for that. Again, just a couple of comments. I think we are addressing the mess that you talked about. We have tried to address this obviously by pushing out the release or the sorry, not the release, the submission and approval deadline for version 10. So we are giving us a lot of breathing room in preventing the continuous release of test plans on a almost quarterly basis. So that was one major, I thought, stepping stone towards making sure that we are not in very fast progression of test plans. So that should hopefully help some of the concerns going forward. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the updates that Ron provided are very important to kind of alleviate some of this discussion here in this new agenda item. So again, Ron communicated that version 8 is currently planned to be mandatory for December 1st. So that would be the trigger for version 9 to be released soon, based on that request that we publish version X+1 once we have that mandatory date for version 8 publicized. So again, that would be the trigger. Obviously, I would hate to have version X or X+1 to be final and ready for release and hold it for months. That would be something that would be unfortunate. So again, I think at this point we're doing our best to get out of that situation that you mentioned. But again, any other comment, any other feedback?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Thank you. How are we going to address the deadlines for CR submission for the next releases. For instance, now version 8 target for rollout is December 1st. However, version 9, the deadline to submit CRs is closed months ago or weeks ago. Are you going to address that? I mean, you're going to extend the deadline for CRs for the next release based on a rollout of a test plan? Because now we have a situation that the version 8 will be rolled out on December 1st, and we have no option to submit any contribution for version 9, and only version 10 that we don't know when it's going to happen. Probably it would be better to actually also address the timeline or deadline to submit CR for next releases. Thanks.
Good morning, Kevin. I guess go ahead, Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I won't speak to that. I'll let you answer to that. But I mean, I think, you know, I think as far as this proposal here, it seems reasonable. And again, the gate for it should be determined by when CTIA certification sends the email to the labs and the system vendors. You know, about the mandatory date. When that official email goes out, then any date after that, the group could choose to publish the next release. I think it also will help with the situation of having multiple versions, trying to keep them in sync in the editorial team. Where a lot of the comments that I made on version 8 appear to be related to synchronization issues, where maybe some of the changes that were adopted in later versions of version 6 didn't make it to version 8. And I think the more we could do to minimize the number of parallel releases, we should be able to minimize those cases to make sure things like that don't happen. And I think it's similar to the process that 3GPP uses to try to minimize the number of simultaneous releases. So I think it seems to me to be a reasonable way forward.
All right. Thanks for that confirmation. And yes, I did have a plan to revise the release planning doc to make sure that a version X+1 should not be released before the mandatory date for version X has been announced publicly to the labs and the OTA working group. So that I think goes in line with some of the discussions that we held offline. So yes, thanks, Ron, for that additional clarification. And I'll make sure that I'll circulate that release planning doc to interested parties that had input to this particular topic beforehand. With respect to opening up the version 9 approval deadline, I don't think that it's wise to opening up the version 9 again. Again, we are in the process of implementing and finalizing version 9. Obviously, if there are critical changes that we need to make, those CRs can continue to come in. But at this point, we do want to avoid new features to be implemented in version 9. Any new features would obviously have to be introduced in or for version 10. But any critical CRs obviously can continue to come in for version 9.
That's actually wasn't my question. Is not opening version 9 specifically, is for the future releases. Is create a method similar to I think you just mentioned that when you have a confirmation of a rollout, then you define the target date for a release or the next